Okay. Welcome in, everyone. Sometimes I wish that little intro song would play a little bit as we get going, kind of keep the vibes high. We've got a loaded show, offensively offensive, here on Monday, March 23rd. First and second round games for the men's done over. Iowa State is Sweet 16 bound, which we love. Unfortunately, the women did not make it out alive. David Braga here to help us break down their loss alongside Nate Schuster and Tom Turner. So, David, start with you. How are you? How's your weekend?
I'm doing good. I had a pretty good weekend. Got to hang out with a bunch of friends of mine, played some board games, and got to watch a bunch of basketball games. So can't complain.
What's your board game of choice?
It's a good question. I like Settlers of Catan. It's probably up there.
Yep. Settlers is good. I played that a lot in college, but if you don't have the patience for it, go.
Yeah, for sure.
Cheap for wood.
Yeah.
At all times. Yep. Nate, Tom, what did you guys do this weekend?
Basketball.
Same thing as both them. Basketball.
Awesome. Well, we can get right into it, but first, again, Big J podcasters now. We do have an ad read to get to, so I'd like to thank our friends at the Iowa Distilling Company and Coming Iowa for their support of Cyclone Fanatic After Dark throughout the postseason. We're excited to partner with them as a local Iowa-based company that loves the Cyclones as much as you do. So stop on over to the Iowa Distilling Company in Cumming. Grab yourself a drink. Grab yourself a beautiful 1858 vodka, which we know and love. I know I had and needed a couple 1858 vodkas after Joshua Jefferson went down on Friday, which I had a couple of those handy. But we're excited to partner with them. Thanks as always for sponsoring. So let's get to it. David, the floor is yours.
Yeah, so Friday, Joshua Jefferson goes down, and you're like, all right, this can't get any worse. And then you watched Iowa State's offense on Saturday, and you were like, oh, it can get worse. I don't know what happened to this elite three-point shooting team that we had. It's just the flow has been off at the worst times, and it was definitely off on Saturday. You can't go 3 of 22 from deep when you have Ariana Jackson's a 40% three-point shooter. Sydney Harris is a 40% three-point shooter. Kenzie Harris is a 40. Like, you can't have that many elite three-point shooters all go 0 for and expect to win a game. There was no flow at all to this offense. It seemed like nobody had the confidence to shoot the ball other than Audie Crooks. And I don't know if this has been something this kind of feels like something maybe that's been lingering because you don't give people other than Audie Crooks opportunities to shoot the ball. And then when they do, it seems like they're out of rhythm in big spots, like when you get to the tournament. Because I know that was kind of an issue against Michigan last year in the first round. It kind of felt like it was Audie Crooks or nothing, and nobody had the confidence to shoot the three ball. And we got behind and tried to fight our way back into it and just couldn't get out of that deficit because we couldn't make up points anywhere. And, it didn't help that Syracuse had somebody that come off the bench that had 18 threes in her career. She had 8 as a freshman and 10 in the regular season this year, and she started the game 5 of 5. I mean, that didn't help, but, sometimes you get hot and sometimes you get cold, and Olivia Schmidt was hot and everybody on Iowa State was cold. It's kind of how it goes.
That's not how it goes. That is not how it goes. 5-5, that's unheard of. You made 18 total threes and you go 5 for 5.
She had 8 as a freshman. She had 10 in the regular season this year, and she started the game 5 of 5 on Saturday. And then, of course, she missed the last 5, but
that is entirely improbable. That, I don't think I've ever heard of that before.
Yeah. So, I mean, Iowa State won the first quarter, won the third quarter, won the fourth quarter, and did not win the quarter that she went 5 for 5 from deep, which,
They're only bench points of the whole game.
Yep. She had all 15 of them. So,
and then she goes 3 quarters and you lose the game.
Yeah, and then she goes 1 of 4 today against UConn, but they lost by 53. So we'll just throw that to the side. That doesn't matter that they lost by 53.
It should have been us that was losing by 53.
Should have been us.
Yeah, we should be complaining right now.
Yeah. Something's got to change. I don't know what it is. Something's got to change. I know there's okay. I'm gonna get on my step stool here, or whatever you want to call it, soapbox. But like, I see a lot of people on social media that are talking about like how much Bill has done for this program. And at some point, there has to be a healthy balance of he's done so much for this program. Also, something's got to change. Whether it's his philosophy, whether it's him, whether it's the players, something has to change. You cannot have a team be ranked in the top 15 at different points throughout a year, back-to-back years, and lose in the first round of the NCAA tournament. We were a first four team last year as an 11 seed. And you thought, oh, like maybe this is just, a bump in the road. Like they'll figure it out next year. You've got all these ladies are upperclassmen now. Like they're all going to be back. They're going to figure it out. And then you come into this year and you start 17-0 or 15-0 or whatever it was. And then you go 8-10 over your last 18 games. And I get that you have injuries to Ariana Jackson and Addie Brown, and that certainly doesn't help you when you lose 2/5 of your starting lineup. But I don't know how else to explain it, guys. I mean, there's something has got to change. Whether it's philosophy, whether it's the coach himself, whether it's the players and how they get treated. I don't know what it is, but something has to change. You cannot have that high of expectations back-to-back years and have that start back-to-back years and then completely fall off a cliff on the back half of the season. You just can't have that. And we've had that 2 years in a row now, and it's getting to the point where, are we going to be stuck in this rut now? Is this just going to be a thing where we can't meet expectations, where we can't, show up in the big moments? I talk about it consistently about how last year we were 1-9 in quad one games. That's not going to get it done, guys. Like, you cannot go 10% in your quad one games and expect to win tournament games. You cannot, every time you get on the national stage, every time you play on ESPN, every time you play a ranked opponent, you cannot fall short. And when good teams learn how to guard you and good teams learn how to attack your, weaknesses on defense, pointing to the, obvious here, you're going to lose basketball games. And something has got to change. And nothing has changed these last 2 years. There's still the same problems that we've had. I mean, nothing's changed. I mean,
do you think? I was just gonna chime in with like something to maybe change. Maybe they kind of went with the Alabama approach of just bringing in a bunch of shooters, and if Audie's covered, we're just gonna hit a bunch of threes. And throughout the season, as time went on, I don't know if the legs weren't there, the mindset wasn't there, but the threes weren't falling. You said against Syracuse, only 3 threes. Like, that's not going to get it done, especially when you have shooters that are shooting 40% as a clip throughout the season. Like, do you think, because like from what I've seen, when Iowa State's at its best, it's when Addie Brown is healthy and like attacking. And then she also can like jump shoot off of that, and that opens up the floor. Do you think they got to go a little more slasher base? Because then you also have dump downs to Audie. You don't have to worry about those entry passes from the guards, like the 2 steps you got to do to get it to your best player. If you have a slasher, it's a lot easier to get those passes and then also like finish out the rim.
And I think Jada Williams has helped with that. I really do, because she is more that slasher type. But you need to be able to space the floor to get those shooters. You can't just go 2 people in the corner, 1 person on the wing, Jada Williams with the ball, somebody on Audie Crooks. You need somebody to be able to space the floor, and you need to move off the ball. You can't just stand there in the corner and expect to, if you stand there in the corner and you leave Audie Crooks 1-on-1, like, so be it. But when you move off the ball and you create that confusion for a defense, then they actually have to worry about both things. It's like we're trying to be a shooting team, but we're also trying to be a dominant post team with Audie Crooks. And I know, you hate to compare stuff to a TV show, but one of my favorite quotes from Parks and Rec is Ron Swanson. Don't half-ass 2 things, full-ass 1 thing. Like, pick something. You don't have an identity right now. You didn't really have an identity last year. You brought in all these shooters. You brought in Kenzie Hare. You brought in Sydney Harris. And it's like, oh, like, we're going to be a 3-point shooting team. And then in the biggest moments, you just rely on your one-trick pony, throw it to Audie Crooks, and see what happens. And that worked against Maryland. She had 40 points. We ended up coming back in that game and ended up then playing Stanford, and Emily Ryan went off in that game. But it's like, if you're relying on somebody other than Audie Crooks or somebody on your team scoring 40 every game, like, what are we doing? So
from a looks perspective, when you watched this game, though, did you feel like the looks that our shooters were getting were quality, or do you feel like overall?
I thought it was very similar to the TCU game. Or not the TCU game, the Arizona State game in the Big 12 tournament. You know, I came on here and said that we've got like B+ looks throughout the game. And I thought it was funny. Fennelly came on and said that we went like 7 of 35. And he was like, yeah, 30 of them were open. And I was like, watching it back, I was like, yeah, 30 of them were open. And I really want to give Addie Brown a pass because she had the injuries, but 5 points on 2 of 11 shooting and 0 of 4 from deep. I mean, she has not been the same since the injury. I mean, you can look at, you hate to box score watch, but I mean, you can look at the box score and tell that she was not really. It started with the Houston game, which is when I think the injury actually happened, and she just tried to fight through it against Baylor. But again, that's just me. That's not confirmed or anything. That's just my speculation based on how she played. But I mean, that's you can tell when it happened. I mean, she was a 15 point, 10 board, like, and then all of a sudden she gets to the Houston game, and all of a sudden she's 7 points, 8 points, 2 of 11 shooting, 3 of 10 shoot. I mean, there was a very clear drop off, and I hope that that's not going to linger. I hope that this is something that she can get, fully situated in the off season, whatever happens in the off season. But you can tell when this team fell off a cliff, and it was when Addie Brown got hurt.
Do you see a recruiting class or anybody incoming that would change your outlook for next year?
I mean, I like Macy Comito. I'm a big fan of Macy Comito, but I don't know how much as a freshman she's going to play. We've kind of seen that we don't play too many freshmen unless it's the full class like it was 2 years ago when you had Addie and Audie and Ariana Jackson and Kelsey Jones. Like when you had that full group come in, that's been the time that you see freshmen play. I mean, we don't see Reese Beatty a ton. She plays, she played 18 minutes on Saturday. But at this point, there's not a whole lot because, I mean, we only have one coming in because we have a full roster and we're only losing one in Sydney Harris, although it was announced earlier this afternoon / evening that Eiley Tanky, the former Johnston standout, is going to be transferring out. So that's the first of the transfers out anyway. So there's definitely that changing for next year. But as far as I know, there's not any, we need this person to come in. I would like the freshman from Auburn that's transferring. She'll be a sophomore next year. She's 6'9". I don't know, her capabilities. She didn't play a whole lot this year, but why not take a stab at it?
Size is size.
Yeah. But again, that goes back to your identity. Are you going to want to be a post team, or are you going to want to be a 3-point shooting team? Or are you going to try to half-ass both of them and say, oh, we're going to have one person stand on the block and nobody else moves and take the one-on-one when we get it, or, try to force a double team and kick out to somebody that's open. I mean, you gotta pick one, because right now trying to half-ass both of them is not working when you get to the big moments.
So I not to make this about me, but I was trying to come up with a coaching circumstance that feels familiar to what Bill is going to experience this offseason in terms of what the fans are feeling and what he's feeling and how tired people are, and they're a little bit fed up with the results. And funny enough, this kind of reminds me a little bit of Mike Tomlin syndrome in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Right? The comp is there. The team has not been bad. There's been nothing wrong. The expectations are high, but they're obtainable. Fans want something different, but better, but are not asking for extreme change. Right, David?
Right.
Exactly what you've been saying. So I think that's interesting. Do you guys think that's fair?
I think that's a good comp.
Totally fair.
Yeah, I'd agree.
I don't know. Just a thought. I mean, it took the Steelers. We don't know what's going to happen this year. And again, I don't want to talk about football for too long, but the comp feels fair, right? Like 100%. It took an entire overhaul of the coaching staff for any changes to be made. Now we have the same exact roster. We'll see what happens. And David, you've been on the record multiple times saying you don't think that, like, Bill's more likely to get a statue than he is to be shown the door at this point.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, I still maintain that he will be here next year to finish out this recruiting class. If there was ever going to be a time that he would leave or that he would retire or that he would hand, the coaching wheel over to somebody else, it would be after next year. Again, I don't know. Obviously, the fans are not going to like me saying that, and they're not going to like it if it happens, because like me, they're not going to think that anything's going to change until we get shown that something's going to change. And I thought it was funny. We started the year and. Obviously, it was against teams like Mercyhurst, but
that's just one. That's just one girl.
Mercyhurst is her name. It was funny. I can't remember after which game it was after, but somebody asked there looks like there's a defensive intensity on this team, and Bill was like, yeah, I stopped coaching defense. I gave it to whoever one of the assistants was, and it was like, oh, like he's actually changing something. He's not coaching the defense anymore. And then you start playing actual teams, and it's like I'm watching the same team that I watched last year. We don't get steals, we don't get points in transition, we don't force turnovers. We forced 9 against Syracuse. That was a team that was like 200th in the country in turnovers, and we forced 9. I mean, we don't force turnovers, and that's I get that we're kind of a set offensive team. Like we don't really go out in transition. We like to set up the floor and go with it, but. It's hard to win games when you don't find some sort of spark to get you into games, and when you're trailing the entire second half and you can't make up points by getting extra possessions, it hurts.
I want to go back to the Arizona State game because it kind of felt like that for a little bit with not just the missed open threes, but they got down, and like you said, they won the third and the fourth quarter, but they got down so much that the comeback is so hard to do. The fourth quarter, they got it down to like 7 points. They got it down to 6.
I think they got it down to 5.
Times. Yeah. Like multiple times, they're in position to be in position, but it's like if that second quarter you play it a little differently and you just don't let them extend that lead so much. Instead of a 7-point lead, a 5-point lead, it's 3, it's 1, and you just need one big stop. And it just felt like with this team, especially in those 2 games. I want your thoughts on the entire season, but like. When they needed a stop, they could get it. But when they needed 3 stops, when they needed 2 stops, that was asking a lot.
Yeah, Tom, it's actually a perfect comparison. And, you lost both games by 9. The Syracuse game, you went 3 of 22 from deep. And in the Arizona State game, I think you went 7 of 20 or 7 of 36. So, I mean, in both of those games, you make 3 more threes. You're not exactly, the game's just tied and you're going to overtime. But like, you really, despite how poorly you played and despite how poorly you can look at it, you're 3 shots away from this being an entirely different game. Or like you said, you're 3 stops away from this being an entirely different ball game. You're right. It just felt like if they needed 1 stop, they could get it. But if they needed multiple, they couldn't get it. And that's just a shame. I mean, you got to be able to, Tom, it's like, you take it 1 possession at a time. You get a stop, you get a bucket. All right, next one, you get a stop, you get a bucket. And you got to go with it. And you're right. Every time you needed that 3rd stop, it just never came. And that's, I hate to say it is what it is because that's kind of how it's been. But it's just unfortunate that we didn't get that 3rd stop.
David, we have some comments from the chat today about just defense in general from posts. What would you say about that?
Well, we don't have it. Sorry.
Not completely wrong.
No.
There it is. Okay.
All right. Next question. Thank you.
All right. Next
All
question.
right.
No. It's interesting because Iowa State, I think about the Brittany Griner Baylor teams. Like Iowa State could compete with everybody in the Big 12 until they played Baylor, and Brittany Griner just dominated us. And we'd always lose to Baylor. And then it felt like, oh, we have the good posts now. Like we're the team now that teams struggle against. Baylor beats everybody but us, or TCU beats everybody but us. But it hasn't been the case the last 2 years. That's been how it's gone. It's teams, we beat the teams that are worse than us and we lose the teams that are better than us. And we're just smack dab in the middle and we can't get over the hump. And yeah, I think some of that is post defense. I mean, when you can't guard a pick and roll half the time, I mean, that's what Nate, I don't know the numbers. I don't know how everything works in like practices and in the offensive schemes and everything. But that seems like day one stuff is, hey, this is how you run a pick and roll. This is how you guard a pick and roll. I mean, I don't
first week at least. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's basketball 101 basically, or maybe 102. And we don't do it effectively enough on either side. And again, I hate to be an Audie Crooks, critical of Audie Crooks, but if you're the post player, that both of those on offense and defense run through you. You're the person setting the pick and roll into the basket. You're the person that has to pick up the guard on the pick and roll. And when you play drop coverage as far off as she does, you give good guards that much space, they're gonna pick you apart. And that's what happened against TCU at the end of that game. And that's been what's happened against a lot of good teams. Baylor, that's a team that runs the pick and roll a lot, and they've been successful against us the last 2 years with it.
Yeah, in terms of if I'm attacking the women's team, why would you not pick on her for 8 minutes?
That was one of the first things. I think Ryan Ruocco or whatever his name is. He's like one of the lead.
Oh yeah, the WNBA guy.
Yeah, he's one of the lead commentators for the WNBA. That was one of the first things he said in the Syracuse game. Was like, if Audie Crooks is going to play that drop coverage, that's who you attack if you're Syracuse. That's what you run your offense through. And we haven't. I mean, I don't know. I don't have the answers. I'm not the coach. I don't have the film. I don't have the
drop coverage feels like it's like the equivalent of playing cover one in football. Right. Everybody else is on somebody, and if you're running a mesh route, the safety just has to guess right. Otherwise, it could be a 80-yard touchdown.
Right.
That's kind of like the 80-yard touchdown is being a wide open layup in this case, but that's kind of what it felt like.
And if you're the coach and you see that happening game after game after game, something's got to change. You can't. I don't know if it's run zone. I don't know if it's sub Elisa Williams in more. I don't know if it's teaching Audie more stuff in practice, or giving her options as that post defender.
Do they run zone defense at all?
Not a lot.
That would be my suggestion.
That was my suggestion last year. Because that's kind of how I feel like you would do that. Is you have people that can move around the perimeter, and you have people that can come down and help off of that. But we don't see it. They don't run it. It's like you're the definition of insanity. You keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, and it's not coming. At some point, if at first you don't succeed, try again, get superseded by insanity. And I think we're well past that point.
Addie Brown's a pretty good rebounder to when healthy.
Yeah,
so her at the bottom of the zone.
100%.
That's another thing. You could change it up just a little, and it doesn't mean flip the entire system, but you go zone, you get a bigger four, a stretch four, kind of like that helps with that 2-3 defense. It's just I don't know. Yeah, with the drop coverage, I think everybody is nailing it, because it's not like you're doing drop coverage 70% of the time. It is 99.9.
It is every time that Audie Crooks is on the floor.
Yeah. So you don't have to prepare for a secondary option. You know exactly what it is. You don't see Audie going over a screen on the hip of the offensive player. You know what's going to happen. And with all the practices, the shoot arounds, they're ready for it.
Yeah, 100%. And something has to change. Again, I don't know. Something on a fundamental level has to change with this program right now. And like you said, Tom, Addie Brown, one of my favorite sets that we run is when Audie Crooks comes off the block up to the elbow, and you get Addie Brown one-on-one in the post, because she's usually on someone that can't guard her in the post. And she's usually, that's kind of that movement, that's kind of that switch up that something needs to happen. But we only do it on the offensive side of the ball, because, you can't really pull Audie Crooks off of the post on defense. You can't really pull her off the block on defense.
Florida did a lot of that last year with their three bigs between Howe, Condon, and Chenalou last year. It's a brilliant set when you can get a mismatch like that. Interesting concept for you, David. What if you get your good Auburn 6'9" center?
Yeah,
you're on a 3-2. Audie's at the top of the 3-2, at the top of the key, and just rebounds down the whole time. I think because she's good in the passing lanes. I think you run the one, essentially it's a 1-3-1, but you have her to block the skip passes.
Yeah, At this point, Nate, I would take anything over just continuing to run man defense with a post that drops 99.9% of the time. So, I mean, I'm up for whatever. I just, again, something's got to change. And I've said that now for 2 years and nothing's changed. And I don't know. I get it. I get it that, Fennelly cares about the players care about Fennelly, and, maybe they're not here to win. I don't know. I hate saying that, but because you want to win games, and I know they want to win games, but when you win games, sometimes you got to sacrifice things. And right now, I don't know what's being sacrificed.
Fan sanity?
Yeah.
David's sanity.
My sanity, yeah, for sure.
And that's what matters.
I know I'm not alone, because the Discord was very active on Saturday, which I love. But yeah, it's been rough to have. I like this comment here. We can lower our expectations. You can, but again, this is a Big 12 that's been very winnable. This is not, it's not the SEC. The SEC and the Big 10 are very clear of the Big 12 right now, and I think we've seen that kind of time and time again here. Obviously, you've got teams like UConn and Iowa even in the Big 10, and I know they lost this weekend, which was kind of funny, but it's not the SEC, it's not the Big 10, and it's a very winnable conference. I feel like it's very much the Big 12 in football, where you kind of lose Texas and Oklahoma, who are now in the SEC, and they're both really good programs that are now not competing against you in the conference. And are you going to be that team that steps up? And I think everybody, including myself, kind of thought that with this group of Addie, Audie, Ariana Jackson, whoever else, that Iowa State could very much be that team. And right now we're not that team at all. Not that team at all.
How do you think in 5 years people are going to remember this season?
They're not going to remember this season, which is it's a shame, because last year and this year, both, again, I don't want to be at a point where we lower our expectations, because this is a conference that's winnable. These are players that are they're very good players. This is not just media hype. This isn't just me hyping people up. I mean, these are very good players. I mean, do they deserve some of the accolades? Like, does Audie, deserve to be first or second team All-American? You could argue that. And I think you might have a valid argument with just how little she plays defense versus how much she plays offense. I think there's a very valid argument to that, not playing both sides of the ball 100%. But these are not players that you're like, at least the core of this team are not players that you're like, oh, they'd probably be, more in line talent-wise if they were at a middle Big East school or at like an American Conference school. Like, these are players that deserve to be at Iowa State. They deserve to be at the Power 5 level. They deserve to be in the NCAA tournament. And the results just aren't there. And I don't know what it is. Speak for yourself. I'll remember it for Audie's 47-point game. Yeah, that's again. I mean, that's. I'll remember I'll remember the moments. Like, I'll remember the 47-point game setting a record. I mean, that's fun. Who doesn't love setting records? But in the grand scheme of things, you're going to remember the game a lot more than you're going to remember the game, and then you're going to think, oh man, we lost to Syracuse in the first round of that game or in that tournament, and I think that sucks.
So, I mean, what are your final thoughts on the season as a whole? I mean, obviously, well, disappointing. We had individual brilliance surrounded by an overall team disappointment.
Yeah, Sean, you pretty much nailed it. I mean, that's thoughts on the season are, damn it, injuries. I mean, that I hate blaming injuries, but it is so easy to tell. It's so easy to tell when the season fell off a cliff. It's not hard. I mean, and you can tell not just by the box scores, but just by watching the games. I mean, that's what it is. And I do want to say one last thing. I've been watching a lot of the women's tournament this weekend and into this week. And there was a moment in one of the games, the Maryland coach, who I believe was a former Iowa State assistant or has worked with Bill Fennelly in the past, she absolutely lit into her star player in Maryland. I think it was Maryland Ole Miss. And Maryland ended up losing the game, but they asked the player after the game, like how she felt about it. And if you can read lips, you can tell the coach is yelling like, "Hey, I believe in you, but you got to want this moment." And she was like, I mean, she was in the girl's face, and they asked the girl after the game, like, what was that about? And she was like, "Hey, some people need hard coaching. Some people need tough coaching. And like, that's how coach gets to me. That's how coach, resonates with me. And I like it. And, she believes in me and she wanted me to have this moment." And it's like, I understand that there's a lot of I'm trying to find the word here. There's a lot of very precise coaching that needs to happen. You can't just scream at everybody. Like, there are some people that doesn't resonate with. But I don't see Fennelly get hot ever. Unless it's, he'll maybe get to an official once in a while, but he seems like more the silent criticism. Like, you'll see, Tom, I know you brought it up kind of earlier in the year, like someone will miss a rebound and all of a sudden there's somebody waiting at the scorer's table. It's like, all right, you made a mistake, like come over to the bench, like, we'll talk about it. And it's I get you don't like the optics of getting in one of your players' face, but sometimes you need that. And I know personally, I loved it seeing, a coach get up in a player's grill like that. I know there might not be that player on our team that, gets coaching like that, but sometimes you need that, especially in March. Like, if you need to shape up and get your ass in gear to win a basketball game, like sometimes you need that. Like, somebody needs to fire you up. And I don't know who does that on this team. I really don't.
They talked about that type of coaching in the UConn UCLA game with Cronin and Hurley, obviously. Yeah. And a lot of the players on both those teams were like, the coaches yell at us like that because we have so good relationships that they're allowed to do that. Like, you can't yell at somebody when you don't have a close relationship. Right. You're not teaching them. A ton of players were saying like how much those guys like inspire them or whatever. And yeah, that just goes to coaching around the women's league too. Like I'm not going to say anything about relationships with the Iowa State team, but when it's just constantly Finley pulling people after one missed rebound, he stares at them, doesn't say a word at the bench. Like, what does that do? Like,
yeah. I'm sorry, Andrew. I don't really have anything else, guys. I'm into the offseason again. In case you missed it earlier, Eiley Tanky, the first one will be hitting the transfer portal. So I'll keep an eye on that, and I'll be sure to keep people, posted on Twitter. And I know the Discord had it before I did. So, or they shared the Tommy Birch tweet before I did. So Discord's always super active, and portal officially opens April 6th.
Awesome. Well, David, thank you so much for joining as usual. I've had a great time adding you to the team. Yep. Looking forward to next year. Hopefully we have some better things to talk about in your end.
Yeah, for sure. And, the season might be over for the women's team, but I know you guys are going to highlight an ass whooping of Kentucky. So Sunday was definitely fun.
Sure was. David, thank you for being here. Take care. We'll talk soon.
Yeah, have a good one, guys. Go Cyclones.
Thanks, David.
See you, Dave.
Okay. Quick transition to men's. Actually, by the way, I want to shout David out. I know he's still listening, but legitimately one of the smartest women's basketball commentators I have ever seen or heard, and deserves a ton of credit and praise for coming on here to help us doofuses try and keep up with the women's game. So I haven't seen anyone else do a better job than he does. So thank you.
DBPI's only missed 5 games, by the way.
Look at that. Prime example.
There you go. Perfect.
Pretty sure he wakes up at 4 a.m. for his job every day too, and he still comes with that knowledge. So a lot of respect.
Invest accordingly to the DPPI.
All right. Let's get to it. Let's talk about the men. We had a crazy weekend. Tennessee State, Jefferson, Kentucky, Sweet 16, all the things. I'll start with this. I watched the Tennessee State game out. You guys know my wife is expecting with the due date in May, so I have done nothing but put together furniture pieces and try and get a nursery ready. So as part of my little last ditch, freedom, took off Thursday afternoon and Friday to basically do nothing but house chores and just try and get everything in order. So I timed everything out that I could go out to watch the game in the late afternoon. So I took an Uber down into Dallas. and went to a bar and was sitting in a one of the better sports bars in the city with my buddies who did not go to Iowa State. After Jefferson went down, I am not ashamed to say that it was the worst crash out I think I have ever had. Like the worst, the biggest spiral, the worst outburst that I have ever had. Why does this always happen to us? Why can't we have nice things? Like you name it, I said it, probably 12 to 15 different words that are not repeatable in any language. It was a meltdown of epic proportion.
Because you can't say them right in the other languages.
Exactly right. And it was a meltdown of epic proportion that occurred in the midst of a humongous beatdown that I didn't even feel like I got a chance to appreciate until after the fact. So I don't know what you guys thought when you watched him go down, but I got nothing good to say about it.
I'm glad I was on my third or fourth Yingling. I was done at 12:30, so we were doing pretty well at that point. But honestly, there was probably some flashbacks to my team when Shaq had his broken toe and we kind of fell apart after that. I mean, it was probably a week or so before, but still, you think about like what could be, you know. We're talking at I was at Wellman's Pub in West Des Moines, and we're sitting there thinking, all right, hopefully put some pressure on it when it gets up. And he just never put pressure on it the whole way back. And you're like, are you kidding me right now? And then he goes back and you see him on crutches, like with like 8 minutes left. Like you haven't seen him for like 8 minutes. Then he comes up and you get like a little glimpse of him in the tunnel and he's on crutches. You're like, oh shit. Not great, Bob. I honestly, I couldn't really tell you what happened for much of the rest of the game. You're just kind of thinking like, all right, well, are we going to win this game? Yes. How do we feel about the next one? Like, that's all my mind was at.
Yeah, if we're going to go stories, I was at my buddy's house just watching it. No contact. And at first, just stages of grief. I go, oh, he's tired. He's mad, whatever. He's just taking his time. And then all of a sudden, you just see him make that face where he's like he kind of like grazes his teeth a little bit, and I go, oh no. And I maybe said, oh no. I maybe said a couple curse words. And then after that, I really wasn't talking. My friends called me a bot because I wasn't saying anything, and I'd just be on my phone, which is completely fair. But I was like, what do you want me to say? Like, this is a top 5 worst feeling I've ever felt. Because it's 1, no contact. 2, no weight when he was being carried off, basically, by Otts and that assistant. It was Tennessee State barely 3 minutes in. Maybe the only 24-0 run I've never enjoyed in my life. Did not care about it whatsoever.
I kind of forgot that happened.
Heisey was hitting shots. Torrey had like a spin move, and I'm just sitting there and I'm just checking my phone, refreshing to see about like what's going on. He's going to the locker room.
I had no idea that Heisey scored even over 15 points until I saw the box. Like they showed the bottom ribbon before Kentucky. And I was like, oh, yeah, because I was so focused on Jefferson the whole time. Like, you're not thinking about that.
One underrated
here about Max. He said the same assistant when Nian got hurt.
Well, it's mostly the same staff. It's basically the
same vibes.
It's like the same staff. Like it's the same trainer and the same doctor for the last like 25 years.
Yeah.
So
So let's talk about this for a second. Was a website update on the MRI today? Any good news? No. MRI was today. We don't know anything. They came out and
they probably won't tell us anything either, would they?
We're not going to hear anything about it until they get to Chicago. That's what they said. That's the only update that we have. We're not going to hear anything else. If someone else tells you otherwise, it will be everywhere. But here's the thing. Like you prep for Tennessee without him. Like there's not an if. You say
you don't have a scooter unless it's significant enough to be probably a week or two. And we play Friday.
How many people do you know that have had an MRI on Monday for any injury and have been like, oh yeah, I'm good to go, and 5 days later for anything?
Yeah, I mean, we're not even clearing concussions in 5 days in the NFL, and that used to be a day.
Yeah,
CBS medical expert is not Joshua Jefferson or Doc Shulman or any of that. Like,
I saw that.
That's like me tweeting that out. Like, yeah, he could, if you shoot enough Toradol into him, he could play. Anybody could play on that. Is it smart? Probably not.
Yeah, so Max says CBS medical expert said he expects Jeff to play. I saw that video. I know what you're talking about. The guy didn't cite anything other than the way it looked when he went down. So I appreciate him kind of pumping sunshine, but I don't think there's a ton of basis besides him saying, I think this is what it looked like.
The only positive that you can even get out of it is that he is in a boot, at least. Like, it's not a cast. It's not broken. Like, if it was broken, they'd know by now. That's a guaranteed out. Honestly, the way that I saw it initially, it cut off his foot. I thought he went backwards on it versus forwards just because of the way he landed, and I was more worried about an Achilles. So I'm kind of glad that it was the front of his foot than the back, but that's still like, he's probably got a foot sprain and an ankle sprain with how he twisted that is what I'd gamble on.
There was a couple good signs because, well, first off, obviously the x-rays came back negative, which means basically just it's not broken. That's about it. And then it wasn't a high ankle sprain, which is probably the worst you could have had there, which is nice. But like the boot was huge. The scooter scares me a little bit, obviously, but you just don't want pressure on it. I totally get it. It's just scary to see the scooter. But boot-wise, Acuff was wearing a boot in January when he dropped 45 against Bama. He was just wearing a boot because he hurt his leg, and he was going out there. So
good call. Talon used to wear a boot and still would play in games. Like, he'd come to the game in a boot, leave in a boot, but he'd play in the game. So yeah, you are right with that.
I'm not a doctor, but the boot is just like so you can put some kind of get the leg used to a little bit of pressure, and obviously helps out a lot. The scooter, it's just funny to see him going around the scooter because you just think he's about to die, but it's precautionist. I get it.
He was quick on that thing coming out. Did you guys see the video of him rolling out? I was like, yeah, moving.
I understand the injury.
It's got to be for like speed recovery, you think, right? Like, if this wasn't March, he'd be just sitting without it, you'd think, right?
You got to think so.
Probably. I mean, like, here's the thing. The thing that I have been thinking about is, like, I'm thinking of what if I hurt my ankle or like one of us hurt our ankle, and totally disregarding the fact that thing's going to be getting touched for 8 hours a day for the next 4 days, basically. So that has me hopeful, but I don't know anything. That's the problem, is that we get online and people are just spouting stuff like, oh yeah, he's going to play. Like that CBS medical expert, perfect example. He's got no inside info other than just looking at the tape, which is fine. But like, you get the NFL doctors that do that all the time, and they're wrong. They're just because they can't actually examine it or get any imaging.
Yeah, that's that like Jesse Morse guy who I looked at for hours when Micah Parsons tore his ACL, praying that it was a sprain. Like, like they don't know anything. Like, unless you're actually looking at the images, you don't know anything. Like,
what I'm hoping for at this point is Thursday afternoon, 4:30. Iowa State's social team on Twitter post their pictures from the shoot around, and you just see Jefferson by the rim without a boot. Or with a boot and he's shooting. No scooter. Just give me no scooter Thursday during a shoot around.
Putting weight.
That's really where I'm at.
Putting weight on it. If we can see him putting weight on it, maybe off the bus when they get to Chicago or something like that, like, would be great.
And it's also good for scouting. You want Tennessee to scout with Jefferson, without Jefferson. You don't want them to spend all the time without him. Yeah.
Tough. What an up and down, like. It just felt like I was just doing this and being like, again, like, seriously, like that's what it was. I'm like, we're going to do this again. Haven't we had enough?
That's like the God gives his toughest battles to his strongest soldiers. And that's like the Iowa State fan. It's just like,
yeah. How are you not dead yet? Yeah. Stop giving me your toughest battles. And
at this point, Joshua been dead for 3 years at this point.
Yeah, it's a word as dead may never die, right? I mean, for God's sakes. So Tennessee State, that all comes and goes. An underrated, terrible part of that injury was the fact that my phone sat on the bar in front of me and just bzz, 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 for the next like 30 minutes. because even non-Iowa State fans that are friends are like, oh, buddy, like, so sorry. Like, oh, that didn't look good. And you're like, I know, I'm seeing it. I watched it. It's not
the
good.
meme of like guys on their birthday, 2 text messages, guys when their team lose or their best player gets injured, 500 messages. Yep. You're like, yeah, I got people telling me, they're like, oh man, that sucks. Like, you're gonna get smoked by Kentucky. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Oh, you guys don't have a chance against Kentucky. Yeah, I don't feel great about it either. But guess what? It ended up working out. Speaking of, fast forwarding to Sunday, going in, I think the three of us, the whole group, waffled back and forth about how we thought that game would go. I do not think anyone had 20-point beatdown on their bingo card. And if you do say something right now, and you could take credit for it, but I definitely did not.
Nope.
It's not after the first half either. Like, you look at all of it, crazy. I mean, it was 31-30 at half. It was 26-30 Kentucky with a minute left in the first.
I think it was 28-23 at one point too. With that loose ball in the corner,
it
and
was 18-7.
Yeah.
Chandler started off hot. That sucked.
The game, I said on the post game, like, we had a little problems at the start. Buchanan was getting sealed pretty easy on drives, and the back cuts were a little bit of a problem. Our guys got beat at first, and then our guys were a little slow, and then our secondary defender just slid off the corner a bit. Chandler hit 2 threes because of that. One with the crazy bounce in from the rim and off the backboard, but still, like, he's wide open. And at that point, like, they were little mistakes, and then they cleared up. So props to the coaching staff and the players, because making those adjustments, obviously they're small ones, but in the tournament, without your best player is huge. Like, that is so huge from the coaching staff and your players to understand what's going on, putting in a game plan to fix it, of like, we're still going to do our thing. We're still going to play our excellent defense, but hey, we got to be a little quicker here. You got to hold off on helping just an extra second. We can't leave a shooter. That's what happened. And Buchanan finished with 9 and 8. I think he had 4 offensive and 4 defensive rebounds, and he fixed the ceiling problem. Like, when he got sealed a little bit, Owe had some drives. Chandler got through a little bit, but when he wasn't sealed, he was going straight up. He was stepping in, and that's when Kentucky's offense started to be a problem. They started running motion offense at the half-court line, and when you're starting your offense at the half-court line with like 20 seconds left, you're in trouble.
The backdoor stuff I thought was interesting, because right off the bat you could tell that was what they wanted to do, and they even called it out on the broadcast that it was open a couple times, and then you could see over the course of the first half, just kind of, not necessarily that we were overplaying, but we were considering that they were going to try and do that more often, and you could see our guys just slowly start to adjust, which was really interesting to see. I also thought it was neat that Otts, was it the first media timeout, maybe the second one, where they interviewed him, and he basically was like, yeah, they're hitting shots, but what we're doing
will stay in the course for 40 minutes. That one.
Yeah. That was at the under 12.
Under 12. And that almost calmed me down, believe it or not. Like, it was weird because my brain was telling me, like, these are really difficult shots that they're hitting. Let's just keep doing what we're doing and see what happens. They're not going to go in the entire game. He gets on the broadcast and says the quiet part out loud, basically. And I go, oh, all right, well, he seems to know what he's doing. Let's just see what happens. And sure enough, basically turn the heat on in the second half.
Well, it was perfectly said. He goes, our defense is built for 40 minutes. Like, you have to be tough all 40 minutes. What happened in the second half? Like, somehow we led by 1 at halftime, and the second half proved that TJ, he knows a little bit about basketball.
When we were up 1, though, dude, I don't know if you guys thought this, but I had a thought that was like, this is what good teams do. Like, we played awful. Our offense was terrible in the first half, and we were up 1 against them. Think about how we felt playing Arizona in the Big 12 tournament. How you go, we cannot put them away. We have played so good. How are we only up, 2, 3, 4, 5? Like, that's how they must have felt, because they had a great shooting performance. They got some really unlikely shots. And you end 20 minutes and go, all right, nice half. Thought we played okay. What's the score? We're down 1. Okay. Sweet.
Yeah, and then they go from 34 to 30 and 39 to 36 to so it scores 39-36. Milan gets fouled with 16 minutes on the clock. Kentucky hits 47 points. So 16 minutes, they have 36 points. There's 6 minutes left. There's 47 points. So in 10 minutes, they scored 11 points. It was 39 to 36 at the time. Do you want to know what our score was at the end of that 11-minute stretch? We had 39. Does anyone want to guess?
No idea.
60?
70. It was 70 to 47. We went on a 30 to 11 extended run for 10 minutes. Like, talk about, that's a kill shot of kill shots. Like that, it's like waterboarding. Like we tortured them. It was horrible.
Jeez.
The waterboard in St. Louis. That foul on Milan, that's when it started all, because we got fouled about 3 times in that span, and one of them, Chandler, looked at the ref, the broadcast caught. He goes, "What am I supposed to do?" And I think it was a hot mic as well.
Well, then he showed him.
It was funny because Kentucky fans were going crazy on Twitter. Shocker. But you watch the game, it's because the Kentucky guards were so upset with how physical we were, and it was good defense. Like TJ says, show your hands. You're not going to get called for hand checks. Don't body them. You're playing great defense. That's what we do. And Kentucky got mad. They're like, okay, let's be physical back. Guess what? They tried to, but they don't play that style of defense. So they're not used to it. They're hand checking, they're bodying. That was the 2 fouls on Milan. I think there was one on Taman too. Chandler at one point, Milan set his screen. Chandler just shoved him back, and he was freaking out. He's just like, I'm trying to be physical too. It's like, yes, Iowa State's being physical in a non-fouling way, or a way that you're not putting pressure on the ref to call a foul. You're simply putting 2 hands on an offensive player. That is going to be a foul every single time. And then it led to the Kentucky foul problem. Their 3 guards, which were their best players, Aberdeen, Chandler, and Owe, all had 3 fouls like before the under 12 media timeout. And at that point, Owe went out, and they were just like, we have to keep Aberdeen and Chandler in with 3 fouls. And that's when you knew it's like Jasper Johnson's coming in. He played 1 minute in the first half. His plus or minus was -8. And at that point in time, you're like, the gates are open. Like, here come the Cyclones.
I just want to point out that the foul discrepancy only ended up being 18 to 16. So much for that. Another thing I thought was interesting, just if we're box score watching, which we have up on the screen, like not an unbalanced box score, right? Like in terms of field goal percentage, Kentucky was slightly better. Obviously, we made more shots than them, but when you look at the attempts, 45 to 61, and then you go down and look at turnovers, 20 to 7, and points off turnovers, we had 25 points off of Kentucky's 20 turnovers. That's ball game right there.
I was looking at the shot chart from first half to second half. We only made 5 shots in the paint in the first half. I don't know how many we made in the second half, but it was considerably more than 5. It looks like nearly 15 or 20.
We had 34 total paint points, so you do the math there.
So 12 compared to 5. Way better. And I would guess there's probably a few and ones in there and a few fouls where we were going to the paint and still creating looks. That was the difference. I mean, I think we talked on the last pod where we were kind of grading, given our report cards, and I did not give our offense a great score because I didn't like the philosophy of how the offenses look for most of the year. That Kentucky game in the second half was exactly what I've wanted this offense to look like all year, and we didn't have Jefferson. So imagine if we get Jefferson back. That should be great.
To your report card talk, like that's what I was going to say with Heisey. I gave him a B- because I'm like, he really didn't improve his dribbling into contact. And guess what? To start the run, I think we're up 38-46. Heisey with a crazy and one finish on Brandon Garrison he's listed at 6'10". That wingspan's probably taller than that. And he goes into him, finishes and one. A couple plays later, he goes lefty layup with the left hand, easy finish. Heisey played phenomenal, and it wasn't just like the 3-pointers like he was nailing against Tennessee State. He was everywhere. Beginning of the game, 10-2. We're dying on offense. He is a putback, kind of a Mikan style putback to make it 10-4 to give us some life. That was huge. It's like those little things like that. Heisey was playing great. The hands were everywhere with Taman too, and Taman, I've been on Taman probably the most all year. I've been saying we need 2024 Big 12 tournament Taman, and that step back three hit gave me flashbacks to what he did in the 2024 Big 12 championship game. And what'd he do? Career high 26 points and one of the biggest games in his career and for this season. Finished with 10 assists, 5 steals. Phenomenal game. Flowers to Taman. I'm apologizing for everything I've said. He stepped up when he was needed to. He didn't want a season and he didn't want his career to end. He stepped up career high against Kentucky, and those guards, like, say what you want, but those are good athletic guards. Aberdeen's a great defender, and he worked them. Simple as
They're
that.
athletic.
Yeah. Good defenders. Good defenders, I would say. Aberdeen?
They're athletic.
Springy.
Yeah. Springy.
Tom, I wrote in my notes the old Mark Jackson line, "Can I have this dance?" for the step back, because that's really what it was. Like, it was like he stepped back, you knew what he was going to do. That was fantastic. But
the step backs are more than just threes, and I think I'm just a psycho with them, because you look at the bench, you look at Taman running down the court, it's just the momentum, it's the confidence. You see Deontay Garrett going down the sideline, just shaking everybody's hand with their little handshakes. You go, this team's feeling it a little bit. Like, that's in the step back, a corner one, nevertheless. It's just confidence with this team. And, without Jefferson, they looked very good offensively.
Can I say one thing about Spiro Ditas and how he says Heisey? Because I don't know if I can do another Spiro Ditas Iowa State game. Heisey
4-3.
Like, it's like he's like, it's not a high C orange at McDonald's. It's Nate Heisey. Like, I don't know. Is that hard?
I think we don't have them anymore.
Right, I probably am. Okay.
We got Lappin for the Elite Eight. I saw the old Villanova coach, Sweet 16 Elite Eight game if we make it.
I kind of like him. He's a ball knower, but he's kind of
honest. Yeah, he gives off the vibes of like Izzo, like stopped coaching 10 years ago and went straight to doing play-by-play.
Do you guys remember when Bobby Knight?
Harlan saying "mommy"?
Do you guys remember when Bobby Knight used to do color with Musburger?
I do not.
A little bit, and he was just grumpy as hell.
Yes, that's old. You probably
That was like right after Texas Tech, right? Like,
yes, he was not great because he was super critical. But that's Lappin. Lappin is like a nicer version of that, where he actually like teaches the game a little bit. Who's the play-by-play?
Andrew Cataline, I want to say. He's been with him all year. He's his play-by-play guy. They're a good crew. Obviously, you want Harlan and you want Van Gundy. You want those guys, but it's a good crew. You can't complain.
Are you guys going?
I don't know. I've said yes 5 times and no 5 times.
Ironically, I have a work trip that I would be, if they make it to Sunday, there's a chance.
Okay. Interesting. I will not be going. Aforementioned baby shower. So excellent timing. So circling back to Kentucky, just to say this bluntly, their guards were an absolute hell for 40 minutes. And the only thing that kept it from being even worse is that they hit shots early, because this could have been a 30-point win. Our offensive start, though, here's my issue. That can't happen anymore. Bateman worried me a little bit, but also the problem is that the freshman jitters, right? Think about Milan. That's the same vibes I'm getting with him, especially when you're just a volume shooter who's just trying to get it up as best as possible. The one that he made towards the end of the game, I thought was actually a big deal for his confidence sake. Like, oh, right, this can go in. Like, screw the overinflated ball. I just need to see one go. I think that that's important for him going forward, because he's going to have those chances. Like, look at the minutes distribution. Like, our 4 primary starters of Heisey, Lipsy, Momcilovic, and Torre all played 31, 36, 37, 36 minutes. And then obviously Buchanan 31. And then you have to subsidize that with Plata, who played 9, right? Because one of them has to be on the floor at all times. It's just, he's going to get called on at some point against either Tennessee or maybe even Michigan or Alabama.
Nickel from Vanderbilt had a similar game to start the tournament. He played like terrible. He made a lot of threes in the Nebraska game. I think Bateman needs to probably be in a similar role moving forward. Like, if you get the ball, please shoot it. Like, if you're open. Seth Davis, I'm not a huge fan of his takes, but he does have a couple good ones here and then. Good shooters usually don't have that many bad games in a row. 1 for 8, 1 for 5 from 3. I would hope that if we can play 2 more games and survive the weekend, he'll probably have a significantly better shooting game.
Nickel started 0 for 5 and he finished 5 of 12. So he went 5 of 7 the rest of the game.
My baby, it's my wife's boyfriend's baby. So just happy
Congrats.
to help. I'm not the stepdad. I'm the dad who stepped up. That's a joke, by the way.
I was hoping for the cash flow.
Yeah, that's right. I don't know. I mean, what else on Kentucky? I really felt like it's pretty self-explanatory, right? Like they quit. We have the film evidence of High Z saying that part of the game plan was that they felt like that Kentucky was going to roll over and die, and they did so very, very badly. That's a team. Mark Pope, I think, had a couple different looks where they panned to him, and he's like, which I felt was interesting because he knew what he was getting into. Like, yeah, it's true though. That's what he looked like.
He just always looks like he just recently shit his pants.
He's not wrong because it looks like every time the broadcast catches him, he's looking at the Jumbotron and his eyes are squinted up there like, oh no, it happened again.
It's coming again.
What's the score? We're down. How much? Man, the boosters are not going to love this one.
You think I could bring up 1996 again?
Yeah. Did you guys know I was the captain? Their fans are they're brutal. I mean, they're tough. Going through some of their, when you go on Twitter on your For You page and you click a couple of the same thing and it just kind of loads up. I accidentally got on Kentucky Twitter, which was pretty great. Good timing for it. And they were tough. They were tough. A lot of ref talk though, which was really disappointing because I like to think that they know ball and know that their team is just not that good.
It's crazy. Like, I guess I understand it, but the hot seat Pope is on already. Like, the team last year was okay. They had so many weird pieces and they made a Sweet 16. And like this, and obviously it's different at Kentucky. You're not trying to get a Sweet 16, you're trying to go further. But this year, they're starting point guard out for the year, and they went into the season not having a backup. They risked it, all-time bad risk, not having a backup point guard because always really a shooting guard. And then they paid $2 million for Quentin's, or however his last name is, from Arizona State. Yeah. And he played like 6 games, scored total like 20 points, got paid $2 million. Like, that's brutal injuries. And it's just hilarious that 2 years in, they want him out so fast.
And Lowe got hurt too. So like
Lowe, their point guard, from Pitt.
Oh, Quayton. Did you bring up Quayton, Tom?
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's a crazy.
And I'm a big Owe guy going into the season. I thought he was going to win the award for the best shooting guard. Last year he was amazing carrying that team. I thought he was going to carry over. Now he had to be the point guard, which affected his role a lot, but that team, man, I wish I was on Kentucky Twitter a little bit after that game. That would have been pretty funny.
$20 million roster makes the seat hot, says Cy Fendi. Wait, is that, Tom, is that you as a bunny?
Yep, eating the dry salad. Yeah. It's a good profile pic. Looks like a good salad, I'm going to be honest.
Kentucky's better when their coach is a questionable individual.
Patino or Calipari, I like that. I like
Adolph
that.
Rupp, racist, like known racist.
What did Tubby Smith do? You do anything bad?
DUI. Just kidding. Just crashed. That was a
coach at Texas Tech. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. Didn't he coach at Temple too? It's even worse.
Nate, that's an elite spin zone. Like, from a fan base, you have to find someone with some character flaws in order to make it work.
Yes. Okay. So, all right, let's play this game now since we're on it. Mark Pope hot seat. Who are we bringing in? This buyout. We got we can't bring Patino or Calipari back. And then we have to answer this question that just popped up in the comment after this.
Bill Self. Just kidding.
I was gonna say Todd Golden. Also not great guy. So,
That's perfect. That's a good poll.
Hurley would fit. I don't know if he does it.
No, but he's not. He's just an asshole. He's not like.
I'm sure.
Not controversial.
Will Wade, maybe.
That's a good one.
I don't think Chris Beard would go to Kentucky.
I was gonna say Chris Beard too, but I don't think he wants to get out of Ole Miss so bad. You can tell he's just trying to find any job.
Yucky Kentucky.
Fran McCaffrey, future Kentucky head coach Fran.
He'll be there for a couple of years until they run him out too after no Sweet 16s.
Oh, they thought going to a Sweet 16 was bad. Fran gets there. Hold on.
I think it's brutal that, like, just from Fran's perspective this March, like Iowa makes a Sweet 16, Siena plays Duke really well. Like, I don't know, that would be kind of tough from my end. Whatever.
We got a perfect comment to segue from Joe. What are our thoughts on the Tennessee-Virginia matchup? Obviously, Tennessee won that game.
Well, before we do that, let's take a break and thank our sponsors from Iowa Distilling Company. Iowa Distilling Company. I don't know if you guys knew this. They're recognized by City View as the best local distillery and best whiskey 8 years running. Very impressive stuff out of them. Iowa State 1858 vodka is the official spirit of the Cyclones. Don't know if you knew that too. Handcrafted, gluten-free for all of our celiacs out there. Giving back to Iowa State and the athletes with every cocktail enjoyed. And finally, have to shout out Prairie Fire, Iowa's bold, smooth cinnamon whiskey, a sweet heat that is easy to enjoy. I would go for a Prairie Fire probably at around 1 o'clock in the afternoon on a chilly afternoon in Jack Trice, about November timeframe. That sounds like perfect drink for fall. So Tennessee and Virginia. I know that each of the three of us kind of did our own little cram sesh to talk through Tennessee, Virginia, the potential matchup with Michigan. But Tennessee as a whole is going to present a unique matchup problem for Iowa State. They are extremely long and the best offensive rebounding team in the country. So without Jefferson, they are going to present some major issues. What did you guys find out when you were doing research?
Pressure. It's our defense, I think, is really going to be a key. You see a guard like Gillespie. He was at Maryland the year before. He was at a school before that too. And he's taken a step a little bit. Tennessee's been kind of funny. They've gone to the portal 3 straight years. They got Dalton Connect, they got Chaz Lanier, and now they got Gillespie this year. And those have been their guys. And the past 2 years, they've gone to an Elite Eight. So it's worked out. And this year, they're in a Sweet 16. Obviously, a little down regular season. But I think it's the defense. You see Gillespie and you go, oh, Torrey on him, no big deal. One-on-one defense, let's play ball. I would think that, and then immediately I pump the brakes of, we tried that once with Darren Peterson at Kansas, trying to play one-on-one defense. It did not work. They carved us up. Trey White hit 4 threes. Their offense made it look so easy. You just go back to the well of team defense. You make everything difficult. Their posts do a lot of passes with alley-oops and also just passing throughout the post. Try to get good ball movement. They play pretty slow. And with the post handling the ball a lot, you feel pretty comfortable about our style of defense, the trapping, the icing, the hedging with pick and rolls. You want to put those posts, and especially that true freshman, Amen. I've watched 4 broadcasts, and I have Jay Bills calling him Amen. I have a lot of other ones calling him Ament. I still don't know if it's Ament or Amen, but he's going to be a lottery pick. It came out he is a little bit injured, playing at 70 to 80%. It was his knee and his ankle, and he's still working it back. I was talking to a couple Tennessee guys earlier today, and they said he's not going to be 100% until after the season. So good comparison to Jefferson if he plays. Because if Jefferson plays, I would say he'd be at 70 to 80%. And I don't know if he would be guarding him. I kind of think he'd be guarding Milan. I was a little worried about that size. But if he is 70 or 80%, has trouble cutting or making pretty, big steps, fighting through a bunch of screens, I think I'm okay with him guarding Milan.
Yeah, they have an interesting kind of roster conundrum because, like, you look at their season in totality, and they've lost a lot of weird games. They've won a lot of good games. Like, they beat Houston, but they lose to Syracuse in the same week. I think they present an interesting challenge from the forward standpoint, and I think the game's going to be won and lost in our post defense. How quickly are we going to choose to double? How quickly aren't we going to choose to double? Is it going to be on the catch? Is it going to be on the dribble? Are we going to force them to pick it up and then double? What is that going to be? Virginia, they ran a lot of post-to-post game between Carey, Akpara, and Estrella, and they make very decisive moves in the post, whereas a lot of bigs kind of lumber and oaf and kind of take their time down there. They were very decisive. So I think that presents an interesting challenge to us, probably similar to in Arizona, but I think that's a good thing looking at our road ahead, because if we beat Tennessee, we're likely going to get a Michigan. We likely get Arizona after that. Bigs. So it's the road ahead of us. If you want to win, this is how we're going to have to. These are the giants we're going to have to beat.
Yeah, I mean, at this stage of the game, it doesn't matter who you're playing. It's going to be someone that's worth a damn. So it doesn't bother me that we have to play someone like this. I mean, my question for you guys is, would you rather play against an Alabama in the Sweet 16, or would you rather play against a Tennessee with a completely different profile?
I would rather play Alabama myself.
Oh, okay. And why is that?
Just knowing their roster conundrum right now, and Holloway not being there.
Even after what they did to Tech?
Yes.
Okay. But here's my question for you. Do you think that they can beat Michigan?
No.
Here's the dream. How many threes did Alabama make against Tech? 19, I think. Like a ridiculous number.
Yeah, it was crazy. Well, they count them as 4-pointers in practice, so that's all. They're incentivized to shoot them.
Corner threes.
19-42.
19-42. Yeah. So I think the stat was that Alabama made more threes than Texas Tech made free throws, something like that. Maybe attempted free throws. I love that matchup for them as a no stakes, very low stress game of like, all right, Michigan is clearly better, but Alabama's upside is we can beat literally anyone if we make 23s. And then the goal is, hey, you play against us or whoever next round, and then they just ice out and go home.
Fingers crossed there.
That's a dream. So back to Tennessee. So 6'1", 6'4", 6'10", 6'11", 6'11 starters. Not easy. And they have some beef down low. I think Carey is the guy I'm thinking of, who's one of their reserves, who is absolutely massive. So
Rico Gathers-esque.
Yes, less mobile, a little bit less athletic. He's pretty ground bound, but he's
like if Trey King did the muscle arms from SpongeBob.
Yeah, I'll allow it. Squint your eyes a little bit. You can kind of picture that. So he's going to be a problem. Estrella's no shrimp either. Here, I'll scroll down. Look at their lineup. Yeah, Carey's, who we're thinking of, 6'8", 267. Estrella's 6'11". 240. I can't remember if Brown played a bunch. 6'8", 250.
Oh, Akpara I liked his game.
Yep, 6'11", 243. So like their guys are not small by any means. I think my biggest issue is going to be how we rebound against literally the best offensive rebound team in the country. Like if you're going to choose something to pick on, it has to be it. It's a different profile than what we saw from Kentucky, but Kentucky was long. They had length. They didn't have the size width-wise. But Gillespie is kind of be the straw that stirs the drink, so to speak. So he's their point guard, all SEC, 18, 3, and 6 on 41, 35, and 81%. So 41% from the field, 35 from 3, 81% from the line. So thing that I noticed with him is in wins, he was averaging 19, 3, and 5. And then 38% from 3, but in losses, he was only averaging 17, 3, and 5, which is very similar, but only shooting 28% from 3. So him and Boswell are their two primary guards. If you can kind of get a handle on what they can do from behind the arc, then it can open things up defensively to swarm bigs in the paint.
No, they're not. And Boswell, he shoots 39 from deep, but he is very athletic, but he makes bad decisions at times, especially in the pick and roll and moving the basketball. He's a little unsettled. He doesn't really know what to do. And for an Iowa State level defense, like, I'll take that.
Yeah, game's going to come down to, Milan and or Jefferson, depending on status, and whoever the 3-4 replacement is, because that's the defensive game. I would be interested to see if Rick Barnes kind of goes to that triangle post offense they kind of ran with Josiah Jordan-James a couple years ago when they had who was that big guy, Vilicic or something like that. He was decent. Jordan James, and they had another post, and they would just run high-low, and they'd run seal on either side on the block. And I could see them running something similar if we decide to play Heisey as a starting 3. I would not be surprised if we see play to start. If I would consider it, at least from a defensive standpoint. Like,
do you think
at least maybe
I
not
brought this
starting,
up,
but at least a consistent lineups of having 2 bigs in there might be worth having on a team like this?
I brought this up before the Kentucky game. I'm not saying I want Mulder to be playing 16 minutes, but I like the idea of Mulder starting for 3 minutes and you keep the subs the same. And then Mulder, you play him for 5 minutes the entire game. But you keep the subs, you keep the vibe similar, but you do, quote unquote, start a little bigger. And obviously you can sub, you can do whatever if after 2 possessions it looks awful. But
Nate, I think it's more likely we see Mulder than it is that we see the double Buchanan play to lineup, because I don't disagree.
You're saying Mulder is the 4 in this scenario. Yeah, I mean, that's fine. I mean, either way, as long as you're getting another tree in there, like, I just think you might need more. You need more of this when they get, because they're trying to get to post hooks. They're trying to get left shoulder, right hook, right shoulder, left hook. Like, that's been Rick Barnes it feels like his entire Tennessee tenure that's what he's trying to get to.
John, you want me to say it? Mulder wingspan.
Mulder wingspan. We might need it. I hope not.
What do you guys? I have a question for you guys both. With their size, offensive rebounding, and Taman, like, do you think that takes a hit with a rebounding team this good?
It should. I mean, if they're worth a damn, it definitely should. I would have to look at how their guards rebound, though, right? Because I like our Heisey through Lipsy guards to rebound better than their guards, especially knowing that Gillespie's the smallest guy on the floor at all times.
Boswell's not bad, 4.4, but yeah, only under 3 for Gillespie.
Yeah, as he should, being that small, and someone has to protect against leak outs and that kind of thing. I don't know if it's going to matter. I think it's our bigs against their bigs, and we're down 1, which is just a huge deal. So that scares the crap out of me.
Late tip, 9-10 on a Friday. That'll probably be the last game of the weekend, or
it is
Sweet 16
of the Sweet 16. More time for Jefferson. What can you say?
Sleeping Friday.
Put your tinfoil hat on for a second. If you're the NCAA or CBS, don't you want to give Jefferson maybe a couple hours extra?
Maybe a little bit of that. And then also every Iowa State Sweet 16 game, they've always been the late tip because we're Iowa State, which is completely fair. No problems there. But
I would say it's one of the least interesting games of the weekend.
Oh, for sure. And then I was listening to part of my take, and they were saying it was the least interesting game by far. Definitely going to be the best game, probably double overtime, because why not? Being the least interesting game.
Our game is the least interesting game?
I think so.
Yeah, close. I would say close to it.
I think Arizona rolls past Arkansas, but, you got Clough, you got Cal. You can maybe talk me into Texas and Purdue, but
that's the one to me.
Yeah.
Texas, Purdue. I don't think Michigan, Bama is necessarily close. I don't think Iowa, Nebraska is going to be a good game.
I don't think good game, but the vibe to it is insane.
John says Jeff couldn't go at 7 p.m. but all healed up by 9 p.m. You're darn right, John. That's exactly how it works.
It would be so funny if there was a report. It won't happen, but a report comes out. It's like, if this game was at 3, he probably wouldn't be ready to go. But something about these extra 3 hours, he just got something in him. He's ready.
Back to Tennessee for a second. So going into tournament, a couple trends I thought were interesting. My question was, who's going to guard Ament? It's going to end up being Milan, as Nate, we were chatting earlier. You're right. I mean, because he's more. I was thinking he was more of a post presence, but he's really not. He's
Seth Greenberg calling him Kevin Durant. Like, that's going to be an AJ type, probably.
For sure. And watching him play, especially knowing that he's not super healthy, he didn't look like super aggressive, I guess is what I would say. He looked fine. Like, I can't remember how many points he scored, but he had quite a few in the second half. Interestingly enough, when he scores 20 plus, Tennessee is 9-2. And when he scores below 20, they're 12-8. Something to keep an eye on.
During that Virginia game, they doubled him a lot and he looked uncomfortable. He, like deer in headlights, dribbled towards the sideline, and 30 seconds left in the game, they doubled him again, dribbled to the sideline, chucked it up. Virginia just a little slow in their rotations. They ended up second behind Gillespie, and their guy collided with him. Obvious foul. They had to call it. But, with our defense, I think we're in the positions better. I think with those doubles, we'll be there. They won't be jump balls. I think they'll be our ball. And if you have a freshman like that who is not 100%, who when every commentator says, quote unquote, he's growing into his body, he's trying to build muscle, AKA he's a little soft. Like, that's just what it is. They're just trying to be polite about it. I totally get it. That it also means he doesn't love to play down the post. When he does drive, he's always fading away. He's not going into the rim. He's kind of going high off the backboard. And when you have a wingspan like that, if you go straight into the rim, you should be able to finish without it getting blocked. So it's just a little telling with him and his game.
And or get fouled more.
Yeah.
All right, John Bach 5929. People might get stabbed with buttered corn on the cob in the Iowa-Nebraska game. How fast do you have to stab someone with buttered corn on the cob for it to be lethal?
Did you guys watch that game with sound? They booed every call. And I was rooting for Nebraska.
The refs were awful.
Yeah, the refs weren't great. They lost control. But I was on the verge of just cheering for Vandy at one point because they were booing everything. But then I was also like, this is probably the biggest game since the 09 championship against Texas in football. Like, this game is huge. And now they're facing Iowa. It's so big. Such a big game.
It's butter. Kind of like poison dart type of thing, the butter.
I would think you'd want more salt so like you get it's like kind of coarse, I don't know.
The more you know. That game, someone, was it like Sam Decker or maybe Kaminsky? One of the old Wisconsin guys tweeted, he's like, oh, it was something about how he goes, this is like when the old popular jock, like, what was it? Did you guys see that?
I did see it. Yeah. See if I can find it real quick.
I'm having a really hard time regurgitating it, but he was basically insinuating that it's like when the people that know nothing about a different sport become good at it and they just cheering blindly for stuff. And you're like, would you call him
Sam Decker? And he said, I don't know why I'm so triggered by the Nebraska fan base. It's like a small town high school that is just angry for 2 hours at the officials, and they actually have no idea why.
Yeah, that was very accurate watching that game. Like, Vandy really won that game because they didn't call a double dribble on that dunk, but
yep.
No, it's fine. Chris Webber's just crashing out on the broadcast about it live, and the refs are just but you're gonna go boo. You're gonna go boo because your guy didn't wall up and they called a foul. Like,
overinflated ball.
Did you see? Do you guys follow like shot quality on Twitter? On X. So they did that game, the Vanderbilt Nebraska game. You want to know what the expected score of that game was? So Vanderbilt wins the game 74-72. The expected score, Vandy 81, Nebraska 65.
For all the 11 Vanderbilt basketball fans, I feel
that's where my bracket got fucked. But like, what shot quality does, it takes all the variances of how much your shot was contested and what kind of looks it was and how many you took of them and how quickly you took them. And Vanderbilt should have scored 9 points less, and Vanderbilt should have scored 9 more points, like 18-point swing and just luck, essentially.
Shot quality is interesting. Sometimes I feel like there's a little bit of subjectivity to it. I know that it's an actual algorithm, I subscribe to it at times because I think it's a good piece of the puzzle, so to speak, where you're like, all right, like it's a great way to quantify how good your looks were. But if you didn't actually watch it, I feel like sometimes it lacks context.
Yeah, it felt really fitting for that game because it felt like Vandy was just like, if you could just get something to go in. And literally they lost the game because they couldn't get something to go in. Like it was in the basket. And nope, Brim's head.
Back to Tennessee, another random stat that I found. So their magic number appears to be 77 in terms of points scored. So 77 or more, 17-2, otherwise 5-9. Do you think that we're going to give up 77 points?
I don't think so.
And keep in mind, from a tempo and pace perspective, they do not like to play fast. Tennessee, they want the possession count to be in the 60s.
Okay, so we've given up 77 points once.
To Kansas?
Once since losing to Texas Tech. And that was to Arizona.
Fitting.
There we go.
So, good number.
I have a stat as well. It goes to Gillespie. So I was able to find him against top 32 defenses per KenPom. 17.7 points, 37% field goal, 35% 3-point percentage. So, it's okay against top 32 teams. That includes Vanderbilt. They played 3 times. Kentucky, some other teams as well. And then you go to top 10 defenses per KenPom, which is, I think there is a gap between top 32 and top 10 for sure. And that includes Florida, Houston, and Kansas, aka 2 Big 12 teams. And he dropped 15 points a game while shooting 29% from the field and 25% from 3-point land. Major drop off with the shot quality, dropping 8% in field goal and 10% from 3-point land. And I watched a little bit of the Florida tape. It wasn't really the size of the big man down low. It was they made him go through screens off ball. And you saw that with Virginia a little bit, and you could see it with Kentucky because that was the other game I watched a little bit. When he has problems, it's because he is running up and down through screens off ball, and he's just trying to get open. By the time he gets open, he's either tired or he's upset it took 18 seconds off the shot clock to finally get the ball, and all of a sudden it's a one dribble pull-up midi with a hand in his face.
That kind of
Torre,
like the offense
Heisey, I don't know. Tennessee is obviously a very good team. They're a scary 6 seed. They have a higher KenPom than Arkansas, Kansas, and St. John's. They're a good team. But there's something to say about their guard that is the straw that stirs the drink, like Sean said, that struggles against top 10 defenses. There's been 3 games, and one in the beginning of the season, one a couple games after, and one late in the season. And then there's just something about that offensive rebounding stat. Obviously, it's scary. We're already down Jefferson. We need him in that game. And even if he's at 70%, but if you are a slow tempo team that worries so much about your offense is getting offensive rebounds, and you're not getting them at a high clip against a team like us with a really good defense, you just have to think there's no way you're getting to that 77-point margin that Sean talked about. That is so difficult to get. That's just me, though.
No, it's a great point. And I can't remember if I said this already, but Tennessee's 6-6 when Gillespie scores 15 or fewer points. So if you're trying to quantify it, there it is. One, I'll play devil's advocate here for a second in thinking about the offensive rebounding stat. All we're trying to do is create extra possessions in some form or fashion, the same way that they're trying to do it. We're just doing it in different ways. We're trying to force turnovers. They're trying to get on the glass. Do you think, knowing that they're a team that turns it over at a high clip and that we are excellent to elite at forcing them and getting points off turnovers, that those two things could potentially even out?
Potentially. I think it's unlikely. I think you're going to get fouls to swing one way or the other. Are they going to call rebounding fouls, or are they going to call swipe fouls. Like the refs are going to call something. It just depends on which way they go, which is kind of sad if you think about it. But that's my thought.
I also think we have a good backup plan for the rebounding. If we have some of the best rebounding guards out there, what do they have in response to not turning the ball over with a slow tempo offense? They do a lot of passing with their posts. Again, they're really good at that alley-oop. And Nate, you talked about it at the beginning of the show. When we double, I think, in my opinion, it's less about the double and more about the help side guy.
Yeah,
he has to get there. Yes, the rotation has to be there. And I can just see it now. It's going to be a lot of Bateman. It's going to be a lot of Isaiah Torre. You got to get your backside into that guy. You cannot let him get in a lot of position. And I fear there might be a couple of fouls that come from that, undercutting a little bit. But you have to get in that rotation position. And when that happens, that's off. And all of a sudden you have doubled their posts with the sideline as a third defender. And you already know one of our guards, Torre or Taman, is defending the guy closest to the wing, and they're in trouble. And with their offense, there's probably 7-8 seconds left on the shot clock at that point in time.
You're talking me into something here because it is about the helper, but what if you just eliminate the post-entry pass entirely? When we played Kansas the last couple of years, when they were running KJ Adams, Hunter Dickinson lineups, we fronted Dickinson, and they just decided to go high-low instead. And that's exactly what Tennessee's probably going to do to us with no Jefferson, potentially no Jefferson. I actually like that, surprisingly. Like, we played them well. And knowing that the guards are not as deep as – I think we probably are deeper at the guard spot than they are. So it's probably a win if we can successfully do that.
Well, that's going to open up the high-low deal, though, that you were just talking about. So I think, pick your poison, because you can't defend everything all at once.
You can seal – if you effectively front the post, you can still stay in front for the next high-low and force him so low that the basket becomes a barrier to entry on the high-low pass. Buchanan is very good at post defense. He's very underrated in that regard. I don't think anybody gives him enough props on TV or anywhere, but I think he could potentially be successful at that.
Positionally, I would agree. He punches above his weight class.
Yeah.
Is there a guy you would want out there in the position of Buchanan who's faced Zuby, who's faced Houston, who's faced Kansas, who's faced Zona twice? He's been through the battles. He just came off a game with 4 offensive rebounds, 8 in total against a Kentucky team. The posts aren't great, but there's a lot there with the wingspan and the height and the length.
And they're springy. They were springy.
Yeah. There's just, I don't know, man. We've been saying it all pod. It's going to come down to the post play, whether it's Jefferson offensively and how he looks, but also with the rebounding.
I'll take a dive here for a second. My fear is that we see Gillespie go crazy, because if you watch him play against Virginia, he had that look, kind of like, I know this is going up, I'm going to chuck and I know what's going down. So that scares the shit out of me.
If he does, that would be the 3rd straight year a guard, if you count Shannon as a guard, that would drop 30 against us, because Magruder, I believe that's how you say his name, against Miami, dropped 30, 32. Shannon dropped 30. We get to this point, Gillespie. Now he's a little different. He's a little shorter than those two guys.
Yes.
So,
and we didn't have Torre then, right? We didn't have the double dogs of Lipsy and Torre. So there's something to be said about this game
against as well.
We got to make that into a shirt. We got to have Otts with 2 chain pit bulls with Lipsy and Torre, the double dogs.
The double dogs that. You might be onto something. Having him take some of the defensive load off of Taman to shoulder the offensive load was a perfect example of what we saw in the Kentucky game. Could not have worked out any better.
Did you guys remember the spin move of Torre in live time on that drive? Doing that with keeping the pivot foot down and under control on a drive as a freshman, that's all you need from him. And that just says something about the confidence. It's going up a little bit. I know he had 2 threes that weren't great. They both really weren't in rhythm, so I really couldn't care about those ones. But
love the double dogs idea. It's DAWG though. Like
yes,
yeah,
double dogs.
One piece I'll say on Gillespie, because I do like your theory here. Gillespie is going to chuck. When we're talking, Sean or Tom, those games you're talking about, shot 16 times against Houston, shot 20 times against Illinois, and he shot 19 times against Kansas. He is going to get the ball up. Like, that's something we can count on for this game. Like, big game, Gillespie's chucking.
Yep. I don't remember. I have it written down. It was either one of the Kentucky or Vandy games. He shot 5 of 22 and 1 of 11 from 3. He's going to get his shots up. It's just, you got to be there. And again, like first instinct, you're like, oh, Torrey one-on-one defense, I'm fine with that. But we saw that not work against Darren Peterson in Kansas. You got to play team defense. But it's you just got to restrain yourself. Obviously, as a fan, the players are going to know what to do with the week off and the coaching. But it's like, don't play one-on-one defense, play a team defense, make it difficult on all of them. And we've seen that work. We saw it work the second time against Kansas. We saw it work against Fleming. Yeah, he went off, but guess what? We were playing team defense. So Sharp, when he came out of foul trouble, he wasn't ready to go. Uzan wasn't ready to go. Like, it works for us.
There's one other thing I want to bring up because Tom has an interesting Rick Barnes stat. So we talked about earlier this year, the theory that I had been working on that I think was debunked kind of quickly is that our defense, the second games of these tournaments are so much more difficult to prep for than the first. But the problem is that once you get deeper into the tournament, you give these elite coaches 1 week to work with to prep for something specific that a team likes to do, like we do in our defense. I always felt like we were at such an advantage the second game, no matter if we end up making the Elite Eight, whether it's the second round or whatever, just because it's such a quick turnaround. My thought has always been if you give a coach that much longer to prep against us, it becomes just that much easier for them to exploit it. I think Illinois comes to mind. Their offense was just so good and we got picked apart. You know, despite the fact that we had a chance to win there at the end, Illinois dominated that game. But Rick Barnes, however, is a little bit of a different story. Tom, what did you find out when you were looking into this?
So Rick Barnes has never beaten a higher seed at Tennessee. So that means, you know, he's a 2 seed facing a 1 seed, never won. He's a 3 seed facing a 2 seed, he's never won. And that just goes to say something about postseason play with Rick Barnes. There is talk, you know, he hasn't got over that hill. He hasn't made a Final Four. He's gone to back-to-back Elite Eights. You know, he hasn't moved the needle against higher seeds in Purdue in 2024 and Houston last year. So is he the coach you want to be playing, you know, with that time off, with that rest, where TJ can set his defense and his offense against their team, and you don't have to worry about a Ryan Odom that we could have played or a Nate Oates or somebody with a lot of rest? I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts?
Tennessee is 1-9 all time against 1 and 2 seeds as a program, which is interesting. Is that stat, Tom, that you brought up? Because obviously they just beat a 3 seed. So yes. Was that? So I'm assuming that was accurate before that game.
Yeah, before that.
Yeah.
So you know, obviously, like it ruins the stat a little bit beating Virginia like that, but I think it goes into play of bigger games, Sweet 16, Elite Eight. That's kind of what I'm getting at there. Virginia, obviously, that's a tough matchup. They have one of the best shot blockers, you know, in the nation. He was pretty quiet against Tennessee. You got a first-year head coach, like a cute story with Virginia going against Tennessee like that. Tough game to win.
Yeah, I wasn't very impressed by Virginia this year, mostly just because of the level of competition in the ACC. Like, felt like for Tennessee was destined to win that one with how just large the humans are on their team.
Virginia also made, I think, 14 threes that just barely kept them in the game. Basically the entire time. They made a quick little run there at the end and then kind of lost some juice. But they took and made quite a few, and that was, I think, the primary reason why it was still even competitive. So all that, right? What a weekend. With that being said, what do you guys think? Ken Palms has us as 4-point favorites. What's the call?
Nate, you first.
I don't know. With Jefferson healthy in a vacuum, way more confident. I don't know how we're going to play this game. I don't know what our scheme is going to look like. I don't know anything. That's the title of this podcast. I don't know anything. It's going to be a bloodbath. It'll come down to the last 3-4 minutes, and free throws will probably be like pulling teeth.
Because Tennessee's also bad free throws, right?
Yeah, it'll be both. It'll just be
fellas.
Rick, Jake.
I love this show so much. I haven't eaten all day. I just got off a show, and I saw you guys were still live, so I tuned in, and I haven't left my chair. I love the ball talk so much.
So we got to be doing something right then.
I had to hop in. I don't even know if I can add anything you guys haven't added, but I can't wait. It's the moment. It feels like everything, like the Pitt loss for Taman, the Illinois game for Milan, the Ole Miss game for Milan. It just feels like they're ready for it. It's probably the fan in me, the gut feeling, but I've covered this team at pretty much every game this year. I've missed a few road games. But when they've played as hard as they did against Kentucky or in the first round or in any of those Big 12 tournament games, in my opinion, they've lost 2 games this year where they played that hard. One was at Arizona when they couldn't make a shot to save their lives, and your 2 best players combined to go 5 of 31, whatever it was. And the other one was an instant classic against Arizona. That's where I feel like this team is going to play that hard on Friday. There's no way they don't, right? That I feel like it's a sample size right now where they've learned they have to play that way. That's where I guess my optimism comes from, with or without Jefferson.
So I've got about 15 minutes left in your pod that you did with Brent, and you kind of mentioned the locker room vibes after the game. Can you kind of expand on what that felt like after they won?
Yeah, it was kind of like a checkpoint. They definitely celebrated more than they do a normal win, but it wasn't it. To me, the Washington State win a couple of years ago, it felt like they maxed out by getting to the Sweet 16. Should they beat Illinois that night, you can make the argument they had a good chance, but that team was going to get smoked by UConn. I don't think anyone was getting out of the way of UConn. I felt like the vibe on Sunday was a lot different than that year. And it feels like a group that they haven't given up hope that Jefferson will come back. Like it doesn't feel like a team. I wasn't around or in the locker room when Niang got hurt, but that team celebrated because they knew Niang was done for the year and they won a game they probably shouldn't have. The Kentucky game was the exact opposite. They won a game that they're like, I don't care if we have our All-American. We should have kicked the crap out of them, and that's exactly what they did. And that was the locker room vibe to me. I think they're very confident heading into Friday, and that's the balance of finding, like, you want to balance confidence with desperation, and they've been able to do that so far, and I don't see why that would change, especially with, like, I can't remember which game it was. I think it was BYU, where TJ said we hate to keep learning this lesson, but at some point we have to stop learning this lesson. And I think they have learned their lesson, and they know that they've got to go out and play that brand of defense, that identity of basketball. And if they do, as long as you don't have a first 10 minutes of the Kentucky game, as long as you don't have that Arizona game in Tucson, a Pitt game, then I think they're going to be in it in the last 3 minutes regardless, if not having a chance to put them away earlier.
I like comparing this run to 2024 with Illinois, because Illinois, I think we're small favorites going in. And you talked about best offense efficiency versus the best defense efficiency. You had Shannon coming in red hot. There was a lot of storylines, and there was a path, but it wasn't as bright as the one you have this weekend, where Tennessee, Gillespie's a very good player, knock on wood, but he's not coming in scorching hot. there are ways to slow him down. With Shannon, there was not a lot of ways. And then the best thing that Tennessee does is offensive rebounding. Is that the best thing you want a team to be at with an Otts style team? Like, a lot of rebounding is being in the right position, being taught how to rebound, how to understand how the ball's going to come off with the 3, with the short 2, however. But also, it's physicality and it's being tough for all 40 minutes. Rick Barnes is very good at that. Tennessee is very good at that. But those sirens weren't coming after me, FYI, during my monologue. But I don't know. That's why I feel not great about the offensive rebounding, but I'm not as worried as, Illinois team that's number 1 in the nation in offensive efficiency. Terrence Shannon going downhill against Curtis Jones or Keyshawn. It's gun to my head, do I trust an Otts team to not out-rebound Tennessee? It's not what I'm saying. But to make their best thing not their best thing for one night. I feel confident in that.
The last thing I think Jake, you help me out with this. If this team plays a B game with or without Jefferson, I feel good.
I completely agree.
If we play a C game like we played at Texas Tech at home for the first half, I'd say I'm sweating. But
yeah, you're gonna be in trouble.
B or above, I feel great.
Yeah, I feel like that's just the standard once you get to this point in the tournament.
Yeah, you play a C game, you're dead.
Yeah, you don't get here by being a mediocre team. Never mind. Not the time. Not the time. Don't be petty, Jake. But your rebounding question, Tom, I think it's a good point. There's going to be a 4-minute stretch in this game where Tennessee probably gets 4 or 5 offensive rebounds, gets second chance points, and it's going to be maddening. That's going to happen. You can't let that be the entire game, though. That's the key. Like the Houston game this year at Hilton Coliseum, there was a stretch there at the start of that second half where Houston built a big lead because nobody could get a rebound. But I still felt overall in that game Buchanan competed and held his own. I think that's the key in this game. You don't have to win the rebounding battle. You don't have to win the offensive rebounding battle. If you do, then it's probably going to be a long night of drinking in Chicago. If you can just be within the ballpark of their offensive rebounding, then like Nate said, that to me is a B game, and you've got a really, really good shot of coming out on the good side.
I think to the play to minutes become more important than you want them to be. Because think of it this way: is Buchanan, would you say, above neutral, or below neutral against Tennessee? And I'll just say neutral. Okay, we'll just play it fair here. Plata needs to be barely below that. Like you can't get on a stretch where that 4 to 5 offensive rebounds come in a span of 3 possessions. They can't come with him on the floor because Buchanan's not playing more than probably 33 minutes at most.
And you got to be really smart if you're Buchanan. Like you have to know that you are a valuable asset on the court, not on the bench.
Yes. You want him to be able to, and this is not the best example because he had 4 fouls against St. John's, but you want him to be able to have the impact he had down the stretch against St. John's, and that probably can't happen if you're playing 35 minutes. Like, to your point, Sean, Plata has to be playable. And if he's not playable, then try out Tom's boy with the wingspan and see if Mulder can have 3 minutes of decent rebounding. Don't throw him the ball, but see if he can do a little bit of rebounding. But
little tip out doesn't hurt nobody. That's all I'm saying.
It also comes down to like Milan, who I think has had really good moments this year at rebounding. There's still some matchups where he doesn't have much of a chance, but it's a different balance because Milan's going to be playing more minutes than he's used to. Heisey's going to be playing more minutes than he's used to. You want those guys fighting defensively and fighting on rebounds a lot, but you also don't want to take a ton away from their offensive game and lose their legs, especially Heisey. I don't want to see Heisey lose his legs because I feel like that could change a lot for the team with how good he's been while being aggressive. And all this is a moot point if Jefferson can come back and be 80%. That's the key, and it's all the rebounding.
Joe Thompson comments, how much will the game be impacted by officiating?
A lot.
Yeah.
Every game in March has been significantly affected by officiating. whatever goes and what doesn't is going to dictate the tempo, the pace, the physicality of the game, and it just depends on somebody's opinion every night.
No Tony Padilla, please.
No, we have to say this out loud. I don't know if this has been said to this point. We absolutely had a favorable whistle against Kentucky. No question about it. Like, they let quite a few things go. That is not the reason that we won by 21 or whatever, but it was extremely helpful. So if we get the opposite of that against Tennessee, especially in talking about how we have basically one post player who we are extremely confident in to do his job for a large stretch of the night with very little to no help, that is a humongous problem.
Consistency. That's all I ask, because the defense needs to know how to play. And it can't be one of those games where the refs let everything go. They go into their little locker room and they go like, we got to clean this up. We got to call a couple touch fouls. You know, clean this game up. No, just be consistent. You just need, which I feel like is pretty good, especially with the way TJ handles officials. Just be consistent. Just let our defense know how we're supposed to play. That's all we ask.
I hate the trend that I've seen in the tournament this year where you watch a half and it's called completely one way on this side of the basket. It's just the physical side of the basket. And you switch halves and it just completely flips the game. And now this team's getting all the calls. Like the Duke TCU game felt like that to me. Like that game was really close, and all of a sudden it just wasn't. And because Duke just got to get away with car wrecks on defense and TCU's breathing on them, and it's not a foul. And it's just pure ref rotation. Like, that can't happen in the Sweet 16. I hope that those refs have been weeded out by this point.
Yeah, you should get a good crew, Sweet 16, Elite 8. Those two games.
We're not going to, again, to say this out loud, that's not going to be the reason why we would lose this game in any capacity, because we have been playing the same way all year. If the refs start to tighten stuff up and call things, part of it, I just want to say that's on us for not adjusting correctly, right? Like, there's a balance between that. Like, you have to be able to be smart enough. My biggest thing with all of this is don't put the ref in position to have a chance to make the call. Like, you have to make it clear that he's going to keep his whistle out of his mouth as long as possible. Don't give him the opportunity to make a mistake if it happens.
Yeah, and that's just the balance of, like, I'm okay if Torrey picks up one ultra aggressive one. It's the Buchanan, like, pick your moments to crash the board. It feels like every single game, one of Buchanan or Plata has a really bad over-the-back call that didn't need to happen. And it's usually the right call. You got to avoid those in this matchup.
Plata is good for one illegal screen per game.
Yeah.
I cannot wait for the group chat when he does that and Sean's gone crazy.
It's a Plata play. We talk about Taman plays. It's a Plata play. Sorry. Don't put that on a shirt. It's a picture of the ref with his hand up.
And it's Plata like jumping over a guy's back trying to tip the ball out.
Plata plays. I love Plata. But that's not it. Jake, I know everyone wants to know, do you have any updates on Jefferson at all? What's the most recent?
Not really. I think it's going to be pretty under wraps through Thursday, maybe even Friday. I'm guessing they know right now what the percentage he plays is, and they're going to keep that as close to the vest as possible so that Tennessee has to game plan with or without Jefferson. That to me seems like what's happening. My gut feeling would be as long as there was nothing bad on the MRI, he'll go. Unless they found some tear or something on the MRI that they didn't expect, I think that was more so just to make sure that he is where they thought they were, and I would anticipate that he goes Friday. That's just my total gut feeling, not an expert. Like the Peter family says. I'm an expert on Taman's balls, not Jefferson's ankle. And I was right, people. I told you guys not to worry about it. He was fine.
Out of context, that is so confusing.
Tom,
this world rewards specialists, not generalists, baby.
Tom, do you even remember that part of the podcast?
Was that St. John's? What was that?
No, it was the Arizona game.
Oh.
The 3 hour after dark script.
I don't remember that.
That's why I got brought on. I got brought on to be the quote unquote nut expert.
Oh yeah, didn't he leave the game? I think back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is Shooter on Thursday?
Yeah, Thursday. So I'll go Wednesday.
Okay, so we'll know Thursday.
We'll maybe even know Wednesday, because I'll go Wednesday, and we talk to the team at the hotel on Wednesday. So we'll maybe know then. I'm guessing we get something super generic on. He's obviously working to go. We'll make a call as we get close to the game. That's minus 500 favorite on what would happen.
If he's doing anything Thursday at open practice, that's a positive sign. If you see him on the scooter Thursday, bad sign.
Yeah, I could see. The thing is, the rest is the most important part. So I know there were a lot of people, like even some media members in St. Louis that were freaking out that he was on a scooter. Like, well, if he's not going to go, why would you have him put any weight on that ankle? Like the goal is to have him rest ice until Friday. It's like I don't think him being on a scooter Sunday dictates Friday, but I would agree with you. If it was Thursday, then that would start to be a concern. Unless it's total mind games by Otts, because they do have a separate practice. So the shoot around is literally just a shoot around. So they'll most likely practice that morning.
Yeah, they'll go to
the
UIC
arena
or something to practice, right?
Yeah, come to the arena, do media, do a small shoot around. I could totally see TJ screwing with people, and if he was good to go, having a decent practice Thursday, throwing him back in the boot. Like, I don't know, man. I could see those mind games.
But if you guys were coaching, wouldn't you'd probably be doing the same thing he is, which is I'm giving no hint either way. Like, I'm not tipping my cap. I would just say he's questionable until he isn't.
Yeah, I think that's how you have to do it. How much of an impact does that have? Like, probably not as big as you'd think, but it also is, even if it's a minor inconvenience for that coaching staff to put together 2 in-depth game plans, then maybe that's one less second that they can focus on Gillespie being able to attack a hedge or a trap at half court. It's probably marginal, but it has a decent chance to have some sort of impact.
You saw TJ do it a little bit, but it was so obvious he wasn't going to play Sunday that it really didn't matter. But he kept on saying he's questionable. We're gonna wait 2 days, see how he feels, and we're gonna work on it. You love that, but it was very obvious he wasn't going to play because
that felt so silly.
Yeah, like I understood what he was doing, but it's very funny. We do have a comment here. $2 shout out Thomas. He said, "When will the refs be announced?" Jake, do you remember anything with timetables of how they list those refs and
we
their
usually
squads?
Figure out just like an hour before the game. I'm trying to think.
Who's the officiating observer usually puts it out?
Yeah, he's very good. Officiato observer on Twitter.
Yeah, I'm trying to think with because it won't be the same crew. You can honestly do some elimination based off. So like if there's a crew on Thursday, they're not going to be doing Friday. So I hope Tony Padilla is over in Chicago, or not in Chicago, in Houston, or is it Sacramento? No, not Sacramento. Wherever the San Jose. Yeah.
I know for early in the tournament, they did this the past couple of years, and obviously it struggles with less and less teams. They try to keep conference refs from doing conference teams. I think that might be a reason why you didn't see Padilla with Iowa State. Instead, he's with Santa Clara and Kentucky. So maybe you get a ACC refs. Maybe you get Big Ten with us facing Tennessee.
Should get some West Coast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Officiating observer was only Sorry, Jake. He was only posting stuff a few hours before tip. He wasn't posting a day before for anything that I could find.
Yeah. It all comes back to Sean's point of don't let the officiating dictate the game. And again, that's back to the experience part of it, where you trust Heisey, you trust Lipsy, you trust those guys to be able to know the flow of the game. If something is called early, if something's not called early, either exploit it or don't exploit it. And that's the key to making the refs not a part of the game.
Have you done any Tennessee research yet?
Yeah, I need to watch some more film. I've watched enough of them in the regular season, but statistically profiling, I'm in agreement where I'd rather see a team like that than a team like Illinois.
Or Alabama.
Or Alabama. Granted, I'd rather see Alabama than Michigan, but point stands, that play style. I'm trying to think of some of the other 6 seeds. Like, God forbid, BYU was the 6th seed. We saw how that went in Provo. If Wisconsin would have somehow fallen to a 6th seed and they were potentially there, that could be a potential. I like Tennessee more than I like that style of ball. Bring it on. If you want to be more physical than a TJ Outsberger team, go ahead. Try your best.
Awesome. I think that's a good note to end on. We've been going for almost 2 hours. But
great show.
But thank you. And but it's a good thing they're here so we can stick around to our final predictions. So Nate was right in the middle of giving his Jake when you joined. So Nate, we'll put you back on the spot.
I said earlier, we get a B game or above, we win. If it's a C or below, we lose.
That is a cop-out answer for not predicting.
Yes, it is.
I think we out-rebound them in totality, but we lose out on the offensive boards. That's my prediction. That's a bold one, I know, but if we do that, we'll win.
Me?
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, boy. I'll go Bateman's due. Bateman's going to have like a 4 or 5 3-point game. I think Iowa State wins, not comfortably, but also not. I don't know if like heart rate's going to be insane in the last 30 seconds either. I think this is like a 7 to 9 point win. Unless Jefferson tries to play way before he should, which we have no idea of knowing 4 days in advance.
For me, I said at the beginning of the season when we did our preview, I said the ceiling is as high as his freshman class, and I think that plays in today with Plata down low, Torre on Gillespie, not one-on-one, but team defense, and then Bateman, which Jake just mentioned. I think those 3 guys play a huge role. We saw Bateman hit 1-3 after struggling most of that Kentucky game. That's huge for confidence, just to see the ball go in. We're going to a different arena. You know, you're not playing there where you just went 1 of 8. You're playing in a new arena. Torre, Bateman, Plata, the big 3, the freshmen. I think the saying goes, as high as that ceiling will be is because of the freshman class. And I do think we win 67 to like 72, some 5-point game, something like that.
Love it.
Terrifying.
Awesome. This has been by far my favorite show we've done all year. Thanks to David Braga for kicking us off and talking women's hoops. Jake, thank you for hopping on for a few minutes here at the end. Nate, Tom.
They tried to kill the podcast on Sunday with Kentucky and it didn't work. They gave us one more.
Don't let us get to Monday, I guess.
Sunday.
Awesome. All right, guys. Good luck to us all. Take care. Thanks for listening. Go Clones.